Chapter 266 Desperate to kill Feng Haoran. Hongmo Continent, outside the Star Abyss. Just when Hong Mo was faced with the dilemma of Wu Shanjian, a laughter sounded in the space, breaking the tranquility at this time. Haha, old man Wushu, your so-called alliance is no different from a single ethnic group for me and even the entire Holy Demon Continent. But I would like to say something on behalf of the Demon Court. Anyone who did not participate in the battle in the Demon Court and who has returned from the lost path can forget about it. The person who spoke was Feng Haoran. The meaning of his words was very simple. The Demon Court was not afraid of the 9 continent controllers' alliance at all. If there are forces that have never taken action against the Demon Court, Feng Haoran can represent the Demon Court and not be held accountable. This statement fell on everyone's ears, some exclaimed in disbelief, and some secretly expressed admiration. How dare he confront the controller like this? Could it be, does he think that he is an anomaly and can challenge the majesty of the controller? Even though he is the son of the heavenly demon emperor, he shouldn't be like this when faced with the control of Wushu. What's the difference between this and courting death? Is this the gap? In front of the controller, don't say this. Even in the face of his invisible pressure, I don't even have the courage to look directly at him. He is worthy of being the son of the demon emperor and an anomaly in Hongmeng. He is the only one who dares to say this in front of the 2 masters. I think he is the only one in the entire Hongmeng. On the other side, Xian Yuanlig looked at Feng Haoran standing proudly, and couldn't help but nod in approval. It seems that our Xian Yuan clan's decision is correct. This father and son will definitely be able to defeat Tianwei in the future. The Wushu control in the sky made Feng Haoran extremely angry at his words. I wanted to take this opportunity to hit those controllers who were hesitant, but because of Feng Haoran's words, some controllers would inevitably switch sides. So, he couldn't care about his previous oath, and his gloomy eyes suddenly turned and fell on Feng Haoran in the distance. A pressure sweeping across the world also came at this time. Buzz, boom. The originally peaceful void made a muffled sound at this moment, and a monstrous power surged towards Feng Haoran. But Feng Haoran always had a slight smile on his face, without any panic. Because, beside him, there is Ruohu who is comparable to a controller. Even if Luohu loses to Wu Shi, the first controller of Hongmeng, don't forget that in his palace of nothingness, there is Tai Yi who is in the realm of Tai Shi. In addition, he also has a peerless weapon that can shake the power of heaven, the Holy Demon Sword. With so many trump cards, how could Feng Haoran be timid in front of Wu San? To put it bluntly, as long as he wants to, he can do it now without death. But if it is killed now, coupled with the 2 major controls that have fallen before, it will inevitably delay Hongmen's return to the state of the ancient times. Therefore, he must wait for the heavenly seal from the 2nd continent to appear. By then, the heavenly seal from the 10 directions continent will be merged, and he will become the number 1 person in Hongmeng. Whoosh! Just when Wu Shi's overwhelming pressure hit him, Luohu's figure flashed and came to Feng Haoran. He held the god-killing spear, and powerful demonic sources gathered in the gun. Then he swept out the gun and shouted loudly. Destroy! Buzz! The spear light cut through the void, directly defeating the endless pressure, and a loud noise was heard instantly. Boom! The entire space shook under this impact, and the void even shattered like glass. When Wu Shi saw Luohu appear and break his own pressure, the anger in his heart could not be concealed. Humph! Little BD, since you are seeking death, I will kill you here even if I break my oath. Before he finished speaking, a handprint covering the sky and the sun appeared on the sky. Buzzing! A giant handprint appeared across the sky and struck Feng Haoran at high speed with a killing force. Wherever it passes, the space is fragmented, and the supreme killing power makes people feel frightened. When everyone on the ground saw this scene, some felt sorry, while others were delighted. When the controller gets angry, hundreds of realms are destroyed at every turn. Is this anomaly mentioned by Tianwei going to perish? Hey! Why do such evildoers hide their clumsiness so ignorantly? Even if you have qualifications that even Tianwei is afraid of, if you don't grow up, everything will be in vain. In the void, Xian Yuanlig on the jade chariot frowned when he saw that Wu Shang was really angry. Damn it, does this old guy want to start the battle for the controller in advance? On the other side, Tians, who returned to the heaven and earth Yinglong jade chariot, muttered with a sinister smile on his face. Haha. Okay. Feng Haoran, now my grandfather takes action personally to see how you can escape this time. On the ground, Yan Xingye watched all this. He had already hated Feng Haoran deeply, but now that he saw him facing death, he felt joy in his heart. Humph, Feng Haoran, it's an advantage for you if you didn't die in my hands. But, don't worry, when I get the Dark Divine Spring and release the Dark Emperor, I will destroy your father and the entire heavenly demon court with my own hands and send them to accompany you. At this time, as the original state of Rahu, facing such attacks, he was more than willing but not powerful enough. Judging from Wushu's attack, it already has the strength of advanced control and even peak control. Master, he is very strong. How about I send you away from this place first? Although Luo Hu couldn't withstand the blow, he could still send Feng Haoran and others away. But, will Feng Haoran leave? The answer is definitely no. If he chooses to leave now, what he said before will undoubtedly be a slap in the face. What kind of demon court can put past the blame and cannot even deal with Wushu control? How can it deal with the power of God? If this is the case, other controllers will definitely continue the alliance. Although Feng Haoran is not afraid, it is still somewhat of a troublesome matter. If he doesn't leave at this time and can make Wu Chang suffer, he will definitely collapse the alliance of the 9 continents. Thinking of this, Feng Haoran raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a sinister smile. Let's go? Hey! Today, I will show the 9 continents that they are enemies of the demon court, not to mention the one who controls it. Even if the power of God comes in person, I will still fight. Just when Feng Haoran was about to release Tai and the holy demon sword, a faint cold snort came from the sky. Humph! Although this voice is soft, it penetrates the entire Hungmo continent, carrying the power of heaven and earth, making people unable to resist. Chapter 267 Feng Qianzhu arrives. Humph! A faint cold snort came from the sky. This voice was mixed with the power of the supreme original rules. Even the peak controller, who is as strong as Wu Chang, feels a lot of pressure. Buzz! The giant hand seal he performed was directly destroyed by this sound wave. Facing this unparalleled voice, everyone looked up at the same time, looking for the source of the sound. They didn't know who could be so powerful that they could disintegrate Wushuo's attack with just a cold snort. As the person involved, Wu Xiao, with this cold snort, had already guessed who the other party was. He frowned with a look of disbelief. No. How is this possible? Even if you are extremely talented, it is impossible for you to be promoted to such strength in such a short period of time. As soon as he finished speaking, a tearing sound suddenly came from the sky. Hiss! A ray of divine light shone from the broken space, and then, a domineering middle-aged man stepped out of it. He was dressed in an ink-colored Dao pattern robe, with silver threads fluttering in the wind. The magic patterns between his eyebrows combined with his handsome face made it extremely enchanting. Hey! This man is so young. Who is he? At this age, he has the strength to match the controller. Apart from him, there is no one else in the world in Hongmeng. He? Who is he? When everyone saw the appearance of the visitor, some people were amazed, but they did not know his identity. Of course, there were also people who vaguely guessed his true identity, but they did not dare to tell him clearly at this time and could only stare at him with their extremely respectful eyes. Old guy, don't think that you can take action against my son just because you have reached the peak of control. If you want to touch him, let alone the blood oath you have made, you will not be able to pass even this emperor's test. The visitor is like a master of the world, overlooking Wuxia, walking with his hands on his back. Every time he takes a step, the rules of the supreme origin gather at his feet, forming ladders to heaven. He is none other than Feng Haoran's father, Feng Qianzhu. When Wu Shi heard the words, he clenched his teeth tightly and squeezed out the sound from between his teeth. Feng Qianzhu. As soon as these 3 words came out, everyone present gasped in horror. What? He is the heavenly demon Emperor Zhu, Feng Qianzhu. This is too outrageous. Isn't it rumored that he only has the peak state of the ancient ancestor? Why can he shake the number 1 controller now? When did you hear this news? Ever since Emperor Heavenly Demon returned from reincarnation and rebuilt his body, he has the power to destroy the body of the controller. What? Then isn't he more powerful than the controller? No. Although he can destroy the physical body of the controller, in order to truly kill the controller, he must have the power to disintegrate the original rules of a continent. Otherwise, even if you have the strength to destroy the controller's physical body, he can still be resurrected indefinitely. Even so, the strength of the heavenly demon emperor is still unparalleled. He is indeed the person I admire. He is invincible and domineering. Just because of the way he appeared and his unparalleled momentum, I got stuck in it and couldn't extricate myself. Who says otherwise? I don't know what level of cultivation he has now. He can actually destroy the physical body of the controller. Since it can destroy the physical body of the controller, I guess it must be the realm of the controller. No. He does not have the breath of the mainland's heavenly seal in his body. If he wants to become a controller, he must integrate the heavenly seal of a continent. The heavenly seal of the holy demon continent has not yet been born, and the continent guarded by the 2 controllers who died not long ago has not lost the protection of the heavenly seal, so he is not the controller yet. What? As soon as this voice came out, the people around him showed expressions of disbelief. If he is not a controller, he can destroy the physical body of the controller. If he becomes a controller, will anyone in Hongmeng be his opponent? In fact, these creatures don't know that in the entire Hongmeng, except for the 9, there are 7 controllers now. In addition to their fusion of the mainland's heavenly seal and becoming masters, there are also ancient Dharma practices. That is when Hongmeng first opened, all living beings, Taoists and demons were cultivating, achieving the holy source, breaking through the origin of origin, and reaching the top of Taishi. Of course, in Hongmeng today, very few people know about this kind of cultivation method. And if the heavenly seals in the entire Hongmeng 10 directions continent are fused, one can escape from the rules of Hongmeng and achieve the supreme existence. Damn it, Dad is always so domineering when he appears. It seems that he still doesn't want me to expose Tai Yi's existence prematurely. When Feng Haoran saw his father appearing, he knew his purpose. Since Feng Qianzhu wanted him to hide it, there must be a deep meaning. High in the sky, Feng Qianzhu looked at Wuxia indifferently, and the Sanskrit-like voice sounded again. Old guy, you don't need to look at me like this, since I was able to destroy the ancient world lord's body thousands of years ago. So, in the eyes of this emperor, you are no different from him back then, you can still be destroyed with a wave of your hand. Do you want to give it a try? Feng Qianzhu's harmless look made Wu Ji want to peel off his skin and convulse him. However, judging from the aura on his body, even if he is now the peak controller, if he wants to kill the opponent, he simply cannot do it. Unless he uses the thing Tianwei gave him before, but now is not the time. Because Tianwei once said that that thing can only be used after the heavenly seal of the holy demon continent is born. Otherwise, if he attracts the attention of the rules, then no one can protect him, and even Tianwei may be destroyed. Just when Wu Shi faced Feng Qianzhu's words and didn't know how to respond, the sky was torn open again. Hiss! Then, a powerful voice came. Two of you, the opening of the star abyss this time is different from usual. Even if you are the one in control, you will have a great opportunity. But now the entrance is about to be closed, do you plan to continue the stalemate? As soon as these words were spoken, a middle-aged man wearing plain robes walked out of the torn space passage. Chapter 268 Entering the Star Abyss. Just when he didn't know how to respond, a voice appeared, making him instantly relieved. Then, a middle-aged man wearing a plain robe walked out of the torn space passage. This person is Xianyuan Purple Sage, who was also one of the 9 previous masters. Although he is the controller of the 10th continent, his cultivation is only at the intermediate level, but his strength is not weaker than that of Wushu. Otherwise, Xianyuan Lig would not confront Tian's head-on. His confidence comes from Xianyuan Purple Sage. Just as he appeared, the void was torn open in many places, and 4 figures walked out of it. And these 4 figures are Yi Tianlan from the 5th continent, Qing Xian from the 7th continent, Yu Xiao from the 8th continent, and Ni Yan from the 9th continent. Haha, brother Wushu, it has been some time since the star abyss was opened, but none of the girls have entered it yet. This opening is different from usual, otherwise, we would not be here. If we can find a heaven-defying opportunity inside this time and the seal of heaven appears, will the chance of winning be? The person who spoke this time was Yi Tianlan from the 5th continent. Although he did not say everything, many controllers understood his meaning and nodded secretly. At this moment, Wu Shi wished that someone would help him step down, because he sensed that Feng Qianzhu's strength was not weaker than his own. In fact, it is very likely that he will have to surpass himself. If he fights with him at this time, the chances of winning are really hard to say. Moreover, if he loses, many of the controllers with him as the center will inevitably defect to Feng Qianzhu. By that time, his advantage will gradually turn into a disadvantage, and then the gain will outweigh the loss. So, he flicked his sleeveless robe, straightened his body, and looked reluctant. Since you all want to go into the abyss first to look for opportunities, then this battle will be postponed. Feng Qianzhu, I hope that this time in the Tianxing abyss, you can find something to save your life, otherwise, when the Tianyan appears, it will be the day when your heavenly demon court will be annihilated. Feng Qianzhu clasped his hands behind his back. Hearing Hua Shang's words, contempt appeared on his face. Ha, old guy, the gap between you and this emperor cannot be balanced by a secret treasure. Even if you can find an opportunity, you can suppress it with a wave of your hand in front of this emperor. You. Just when Wu Shi wanted to say something else, Xianyuan Purple Saint spoke again. Haha. In that case, let's wait until we come out of the abyss before we can compete again. After saying that, his figure turned into a stream of light, swept away Xianyuan Lig and Lin Qisha, and rushed towards the abyss. Seeing this, the other controllers followed suit and rushed into the star abyss with their own evil geniuses. As for Yan Xingyu, who was destined by fate, he was forcibly swept away by Yi Tianlan from the 5th continent. Humph! Wu Shi glared at Feng Qianzhu angrily, and then disappeared from the place with Tian's and the powerful men from the Tian clan. When Feng Qianzhu saw that many masters were heading towards the abyss, he stepped forward and came to Feng Haoran. Father! Seeing his arrival, the latter wanted to say something, but was stopped. Haoran, when the star abyss opens this time, treasures from the early days of Hongmeng will appear. It is even possible that the extremely ancient Taishi controls the unbroken soul. Therefore, the opportunity this time is not proportional to the danger. Remember, once you are in danger, you will hide in the palace inside your body. With it, even those souls at their peak cannot be broken open. Feng Haoran was a little confused at this time. Hearing what his father meant, it seemed that he would not enter it. Father, now that other controllers have entered the abyss, don't you look for opportunities? Feng Qianzhu always had a friendly smile when facing his son. At this time, he looked towards the abyss and chuckled. Haha, how can a group of frogs in a well know where the real treasure is? Immediately, he withdrew his eyes and looked at Feng Haoren and others again. Now I will take you into the abyss, and then go to that mysterious place. It is up to you to find the opportunities inside. Buzz. Feng Qian didn't wait for everyone to react. He waved his sleeves and everyone disappeared in an instant. Even Luo Hu, who had an intermediate level of control, disappeared at this time. Whoosh! Finally, the stream of light that Feng Qianzhu transformed into disappeared into the star abyss. Hurry, the controllers have already entered the star abyss, let's rush in quickly. Yes, otherwise, chance would have nothing to do with us. Someone shouted, and countless geniuses on the ground turned into streams of light and rushed into the abyss. The star abyss is like an eternal old man who has existed since the beginning of the Hongmeng. Later, in the Hongmeng, countless great powers fought fiercely, shattering the Hongmeng like the earth was shattering, and divided the 10 directions into continents. The star abyss has become a dangerous place on the 6th continent. Since it is a dangerous place, it must contain endless treasures that defy the heavens. Therefore, it will be opened every 10,000 years, and this is also regarded by Hongmo continent as a sacred place for genius trials. However, what they don't know is that this opening once in 10,000 years is only the periphery of the star abyss. Why is the star abyss opened both inside and outside this time? The reason is that Hongmeng is about to return to the time when it first opened. The battle between the ancient gods was extremely cruel, and countless great powers fell like stars, all of them perished. Some of the remnant souls were left in the ancient battlefield, while most of the souls almost escaped into the star abyss. Therefore, the powerful soul in the ancient battlefield was like a candle in the wind in the torrent of time, unable to resist, and finally dissipated between heaven and earth. The star abyss is like a mysterious realm of extreme darkness, and is an excellent place to nourish the soul. But after Hongmeng was broken, due to incomplete rules, the interior of the star abyss seemed to be imprisoned by an invisible seal. Neither the outside creatures nor the powerful remnant souls inside can enter or exit. Even if the outer edge of the abyss is opened once every 10,000 years, the soul inside it still cannot break through the seal of perfect rules. Nowadays, the rules of the Shifang continent are gradually becoming more and more complete. When the heavenly seal of the Holy Demon continent is born, Hongmeng can return to the time when it first opened. Relatively speaking, the seals of forbidden and dangerous places in Hongmeng will also be weakened or even broken like ice and snow melting. Star Abyss is one of the forerunners. At this time, the interior of the star abyss is like an endless black hole. The darkness is so deep that it makes one's heart palpitate. The aura of chaos and evil permeates it like billowing black mist. Once any living creature steps into this forbidden land, it will fall into unpredictable terror. However, in this grey darkness, an ancient and broken tower stood like a lonely giant. Around this tower, the power of time rules is twisted like a twist, as if the chaos of the universe is intertwined within it. Even though the tower is dilapidated, the rules of time emanating from it are like a perfect circle, impeccable. Even if the current ancestor of time, Ji Wanja, accidentally breaks into it, she will be trapped in an endless time loop and will be unable to escape. Click! Suddenly, a sound came from the tower, just like the heartbeat of time, dull and powerful. Then, an eerie and hoarse voice sounded as if it came from the 9 nether hells. How many years have passed, this damn space has finally opened, ahaha. If you're enjoying this content, please make sure to like and subscribe Chinese Novel Audiowave. Chapter 269 The Origin of Gods and Demons in the Early Period of Hongmeng. A eerie, hoarse voice came from the netherworld. And in the space that is like a black hole, time seems to be stopped at this moment. Buzz. Suddenly, a pair of eyes as big as lanterns appeared in the ancient and dilapidated tower, illuminating the night like day. And within those eyes, there was a depth and boundlessness, as if endless time was circulating. Then, the lantern-like eyes gradually shrank, revealing a ghostly figure. This figure appears and disappears, like a flame that can be extinguished at any time, but the aura emanating from it is like that of an eternal and immortal god. He had white hair as white as dead grass, a 3-foot-long silver beard, and a grey robe that fluttered in the wind. At first glance, it looked like an old man floating in the void. With those deep eyes, Yao looked at the barrier that was slowly opening in the darkness, his face revealing an unconcealable joy. Haha! It's been so many years. As long as I get out of this damn place, I can take over my own body. As soon as he finished speaking, the remnant soul wanted to break out of the tower, but at this moment, a deep and powerful voice came from the barrier. Want to take over another body and be reborn? Has this emperor allowed it? Buzz. Boom. The endless darkness was now shrouded in blood. The blood and energy were boiling, emitting an endless murderous aura. Then, from the blood, the figure of a middle-aged man slowly condensed. He has sword-like eyebrows and star-like eyes, wears a crown with feathers on his head, and has dancing silver hair draped over his shoulders. He has a faint ancient aura, and the supreme Taoist charm and endless murderous intent linger around him. He stood with his hands behind his back, suspended in the air, overlooking the ancient and dilapidated tower. The remaining soul in the tower looked through the wall of the tower at the middle-aged man who was domineering and unparalleled in the void. When he saw the person's appearance clearly, the remnant soul's face, which was dimming and bright, suddenly showed a look of fear. It's you, how is this possible? In an instant, the long-sealed memory of the remnant soul was revived at this moment. When the universe was first created, the 5 elements evolved and gave birth to supreme gods and demons. The most extraordinary of them were the gods and demons who possessed the power of original rules. These gods and demons are the rules of space, time, life, death, light, darkness, and thunder. The gods and demons who possess the power of original rules have strength close to that of the 5 great ones. In fact, the power of some gods and demons was comparable to that of the 5 great ones at that time. But at that time, Wu Tai launched a war in order to fight for the control of the entire Hongmeng. They continue to suppress this group of gods and demons who have rules that go against the will of heaven. However, with such strength, how could they be willing to be inferior to others? Thus, a large-scale war began. It was the most intense war since the beginning of the universe, and also the final battle between the ancient gods and demons. That great war caused the extremely stable Hongmeng space to be torn into pieces. But suddenly one day, a figure unrivaled in the universe appeared. He stood in the air, and his powerful aura seemed to be able to burst the entire primordial universe. The gods, demons, and the 5 greats who were engaged in a fierce battle unconsciously stopped their attacks under his supreme power. When they looked up, a feeling of submission arose from deep in their hearts. However, the visitor did not speak, he just waved his palm casually. Suddenly, a destructive force swept across the entire Hongmeng. The immortal gods and demons, as well as the 5 innate elements, were instantly turned into nothingness by this attack. Although he only appeared in the eyes of those gods and demons for a short time, his appearance was deeply imprinted in the hearts of the gods and demons. And the remnant soul in the ancient and dilapidated tower at this time is the ancestor of the original time rules at the beginning of Hongmeng. As for the middle-aged man floating outside and surrounded by blood, he was the one who waved his hand to kill them at the beginning of Hongmeng. Similarly, he is also the current ruler of the Holy Demon Continent, and is also Feng Haoren's adoptive father, Feng Qunzhu. As for what Ken Hun said was impossible, in fact, in his opinion, with the current Hongmeng, it is not worthy for such a person to come. What's more, he is only a remnant soul, and his strength is only 1/10 of what it was at his peak. But the current Hongmeng, even if he is at the peak of his strength now, is not comparable to those controllers. Feng Qunzhu knew how terrifying the shock he brought to them back then was. But even if I haven't reached my peak yet, it is still possible to stop them from appearing in the world. At this moment, there was no sadness or joy on his face, and the ancient and dilapidated tower seemed nothing in front of him. Those eyes that seemed to be able to see through everything stared at the remnant soul of time, and then slowly spoke. This emperor came here to stop you from appearing in the world. Today's Hongmeng cannot bear too many original gods and demons. But, don't worry, I won't take action this time, but if you want to leave this place, you have to wait for me to retrieve that thing, and then I can take you away with me. Not taking action? Haha. I'm afraid that with your current level of cultivation, it will be difficult for you to fight against so many gods and demons like us, right? Even though we are now remnant souls, aren't you also a body passed down from generation to generation? Just when the remaining soul in the tower was about to agree, suddenly, a eerie and terrifying voice came from a distance. Woo! Then, a strong and powerful cold wind blew from the darkness, stopped 1,000 meters away from Feng Qunju, and then turned into a transparent figure. And this person exudes an extremely powerful force of death. Although he was just a remnant soul at this time, he was not afraid at all when facing the current Feng Qunju. They looked as if they had seen through the other party, as if they were certain that Feng Qunju could not do anything to them now. What? Do you think you can bark before me just because you died once and have a deeper understanding of the power of death? Hehe, don't say that there are only a few of you here. Even if the group of gods and demons from the past were all here, with the power of your residual souls, I can still destroy them all with a wave of my hand. Boom! Before Feng Qunju finished his words, the aura on his body suddenly surged, and a murderous intent surged out, directly approaching the remnant soul of the rule of death. Upon seeing this, the latter's heart skipped a beat, and there was a look of disbelief in his eyes. Looking at the murderous intent sweeping over him, his hands kept changing, and streams of death power surged out of his body, gathered in his palms, and then pushed out casually. Suddenly, a loud crash was heard. Boom! Swoosh! The residual soul of the rule of death flew backwards and drew an arc in the void. When he steadied himself, his face was filled with fear. He suddenly raised his eyes to look at Feng Qunju, who didn't move at all, and let out a cry of surprise. How is this possible? Chapter 270, The One Who Should Be Calmed. This. How could this be possible? You are just a reincarnated body, and you haven't even reached the level of Tai Shi control yet. How can you have such shocking strength? The remnant soul of the death rule that was blown away looked at Feng Qunju in astonishment, as if he had seen the most incredible thing in the world. The latter did not rush to respond. He just raised the corners of his mouth slightly, outlining an arc like a crescent moon, and then let out a creepy sneer. Hat! How can my strength be judged by someone in the current Hongmeng realm? Little guy, not to mention that your current strength is only 1/10 of what it used to be. Even if you were at the peak of your powers, if you met me now, it would only take a snap of my fingers to destroy you. Feng Qunju's words, little guy, were like a thunderclap, exploding in the ears of the two residual souls that had existed for who knows how many billions of years, leaving them dumbfounded. You have to know that they are creatures that were born at the beginning of the universe after the 5 elements took shape, and they have experienced many vicissitudes of life. At this time, Feng Qunju had already gone through 2 reincarnations. However, if calculated according to the original him, the creatures in Hongmeng are indeed like immature children in front of him. Because, his existence is like a mystery to Hongmeng at present, and no one knows how many years he has existed. The remnant soul of the death rule was stunned for a moment, and then came to his senses. Although he was extremely dissatisfied with Feng Qunju's words, he knew at this moment that he was simply unable to compete with him. With the power that Feng Qunju just released, even if he united all the remaining souls here to attack together, there was no guarantee of victory. What's more, it is still unknown whether he has the ability to make all the residual souls here work together and attack together. His ferocious and bloodthirsty eyes gradually dimmed under Feng Qunju's eagle-like sharp gaze. You must think clearly. Should I collect your remaining souls and take them out, or destroy you and take your origins out? Feng Qunju's words, which were intimidating without any anger, echoed like a loud bell in the ancient ruined tower, making the remnant soul of time hiding in it like a frightened bird, flash away and come to the front in an instant. Sir, I am willing to go out with you and follow your will. Feng Qianzhu nodded with satisfaction, then his gaze fell on the remnant soul of the dead. When the latter saw his gaze, his translucent body trembled involuntarily and he responded hastily. Sir, I am willing to go out with you. After hesitatingly speaking, the dead soul didn't dare to look at Feng Qianzhu again and lowered its head consciously. Feng Qianzhu ignored him, but moved his gaze to the darker depths, and then uttered a faint voice. What? Do you still want me to invite you out personally? As soon as the words fell, several streams of light shot out from the depths of the darkness. Swoosh! Then, streams of light exploded, revealing several figures. Their appearance and clothing were different, but the only thing in common was that they had no physical bodies, but were all residual souls. These residual souls are the strongest residual souls of the original rules that were born after the beginning of Hongmeng. When they appeared, their eyes revealed awe and a hint of fear. Among them, there was a middle-aged man wearing a white Taoist robe with gold patterns, and there was a hint of doubt in his eyes. Because he sensed that there was a familiar aura on Feng Qianzhu. But when he thought of his identity and his terrifying strength back then, he suddenly felt that his idea was ridiculous. But after Feng Qianzhu glanced at everyone, he finally stopped his gaze on him. You guessed correctly. This emperor's reincarnation in this life is from the origin space clan, the Sealing clan. Ah? What? Space Sealed clan? How is this possible? Back then. Upon hearing this, the middle-aged man looked at Feng Qianzhu in shock, with confusion in his eyes. However, before he could finish, he was interrupted by Feng Qianzhu. When primordial creation was first created, this emperor calculated that something big would happen in the future. Back then, when the five innates fought with you for the unification of Hongmeng, they broke the newly perfected Hongmeng into pieces. If I do not take action at that time, the broken Hongmeng will face a huge threat. Even those high and mighty creatures outside of Hongmeng could not avoid the fate of falling. Therefore, in order to avoid such a horrific disaster from happening, this emperor chooses to exterminate you innate and original creatures. It is said to be extinction, but in fact it is a matter of life and death. If you were really allowed to return to the primordial chaos back then, the disaster would have come even faster. Therefore, this emperor only destroyed your physical bodies and left you a glimmer of hope. At the same time, a drop of essence and blood was extracted from your broken bodies, and after the passage of time, it evolved into the current clan of rules. This can also be said to be leaving a Taoist tradition for you. As for this emperor, I have reincarnated into the Feng clan of the Space clan in this life. Now, when Hongmeng is about to return to its original state, the disaster that this emperor predicted back then will soon occur. However, this time it can be called a disaster, because someone who can prevent the disaster from coming has been born. Although this catastrophe will cause many races to perish or even be wiped out, it will prevent all living beings from being completely exterminated. After hearing these words, everyone fell silent, as if they were under a spell. One has to know that they have spent countless years in this bottomless abyss. The man who killed them with a wave of his hand made everyone present hate him extremely. However, after his explanation, he has now transformed into a great hero who saved all living beings in Hongmeng. Among them, some were skeptical, like a candle in the wind, wavering, while others believed it without a doubt, like believers. And the remnant soul of the space rules, wearing a white Taoist robe with gold patterns, stared at Feng Qianzhu's back as if he was staring at an unreachable mountain. May I ask, sir, who is this person who is destined to be robbed? Feng Qianzhu stood with his hands behind his back, straight as a pine tree. He looked up at the sky, a hint of worry like a dark cloud flashed in his eyes. After all, before he broke through the barrier to restore his original memory, everything he did was for his son to ascend to the supreme position. But now, his son turned out to be the one who should be punished, and he felt extremely regretful at this moment. Because, that horrific disaster even frightened and terrified me in the initial stage. At this moment, he couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Who the person who was born in response to the calamity is the only offspring of this emperor in this life. Only he can save the primordial world. What? The person who will be robbed is actually your son. After receiving the response, everyone looked at each other in shock, as if struck by lightning, and stood dumbfounded. Even those who were skeptical about Feng Qianzhou before, felt enlightened at this moment and dispelled all their doubts. You have to know what a terrifying existence Feng Qianzhou was back then. How could such a powerful person make up such a ridiculous story and push his own descendants into the abyss of no return? Moreover, even he, who had reincarnated and started over, was unable to cope with this calamity, yet this calamity happened to befall his descendants. What a heartbreaking and regrettable thing it is. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiowave to stay updated with our latest stories. And never miss out on a great listen.